Hi, I'm Professor Reda Al-Wakil, Emeritus Professor of Tropical Medicine in Shams University, Cairo, Egypt. I'm currently the Permanent Secretary of the African Middle East Association of Gastroenterology, AMAGE. It's my pleasure to participate in the ECHO program by discussing the management of gastric varices. Gastric varices are present in around 20% of patients with cirrhosis. They are quite different from esophageal varices as they are supplied by the short gastric, left gastric, and polar renal veins, and thus they have different venous afferents compared to esophageal varices. They bleed less frequently, but they bleed more significantly than esophageal varices. The bleeding from gastric varices is less directly related to the degree of portal hypertension and more related to the size of the varix and the wall tension. The following slide is presenting some endoscopic pictures of gastric varices, large size. They are risky as they are of large size. And the one to the upper left endoscopic picture shows cherry red spot, which is a risk sign of the gastric varix. The incidence of bleeding from gastric varices, a study shows that the cumulative risk of gastric varix bleeding at first, the third, and the fifth years was 16%, 36%, and 44% respectively. Another study showed a lower cumulative incidence of gastric varices bleeding at 4.8%, 19.9%, and 23.2% at 1, 3, and 5 years respectively. Gastric varices are classified according to their development before and after endoscopic or surgical intervention as a primary or secondary gastric varices, and according to their anatomical site, whether in the fundus or in the body, and according to their size, whether they are large or small varices. This slide shows the famous Sarin classification for gastric varices. Sarin et al. Classified gastric varices as whether gastroesophageal varices, and these are classified into type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is in the lesser curvature and type 2 on the greater curve. And isolated gastric varices, they are gastric varices only without the presence of esophageal varices, either type 1 in the fundus or type 2 at the antrum. Regarding the prognosis of bleeding from gastric varices, gastroesophageal varices type 2 bleed more frequently than gastroesophageal varices type 1. Secondary gastroesophageal varices carry the worst prognosis. 38% of patients with this type of varices died of bleeding. Isolated gastric varices type 1 bleed in a similar frequency as gastroesophageal varices type 2. The main risk factor for bleeding are the degree of liver dysfunction, the location of the varix, and the size and the presence of red spots on the varix. Gastric varices bleed less frequently than esophageal varices, but they bleed more severely than esophageal varices, as I said before. The transfusion requirements is higher in gastric than in esophageal variceal bleeding, 4.8 versus 2.9 transfusion units per person, with a statistical significant difference. The risk stratification for gastric varices, the patient need to be stratified by the risk of hemorrhage into high-risk patients, those with medium to large varices, or those with small varices that have red signs or occur in a child C patients. Low-risk patients, those with small varices without red signs or occurring in a child A or B patients. The primary prophylaxis for bleeding from gastric varices, there was a study published in 2011 that discussed this issue. 89 cirrhotic patients with a high risk gastric varices, that's to say large, more than 1 centimeters, and located in the fundus, were included. They had no history of gastrointestinal tract bleeding, and no esophageal varices were present at diagnostic endoscopy. They were randomized to receive either histoacryl injection, that's cyanoacrylate injection, until complete obliteration. This was group 1. Propranolol non-selective beta blockers with a target heart rate of 55 per minute, or maximal dose of 360 milligram per day. This is group 2, or no treatment group. This is group 3. The median follow-up period was 26 months. The results of this study showed that gastric variceal bleeding occurred in 10% in the histoacryl group, compared to 38% in propranolol group and 53% in no treatment group. Mortality was 0 in histoacryl group compared to 10% and 24% in propranolol and no treatment respectively. And the complications were similar in both through the 3 groups. The Pavino 6 recommendations for management of gastric varices stated that although a single study suggested that cyanoacrylate injection is more effective than beta blockers in preventing first bleeding in patients with large gastroesophageal varices type 2 or isolated gastric varices type 1, further studies are needed to evaluate the risk-benefit ratio of using histoacryl in this setting before recommendation can be made. On the other hand, the United Kingdom guidelines published in 2015 regarding the prophylaxis of bleeding from gastric varices stated that non-selective beta blockers can be considered in selected high-risk patients with large gastroesophageal varices type 2 after taking into account the patient's preference and the clinical judgment. Cyanoacrylate injection is not recommended outside clinical trials. This table shows the drugs and the methods of treatment of prophylactic treatment for gastric varices that include propranolol, orendiral, and nadolol, carvedilol, and endoscopic variceal ligation, and comparing those methods for use. Recently, most of the guidelines recommend the use of carvedilol 200.5 milligrams. The maximal dose should not exceed 12.5 milligram per day, except in patients with arterial hypertension. The use of endoscopic variceal ligation was reported, but the most probably used method for prophylactic treatment is by the use of carvedilol for prophylactic treatment of bleeding from gastric varices. What are the advantages of non-selective beta blockers? They include, the advantages include low cost, ease of administration, and not requiring specific expertise. They may also reduce the development of ascites and decompensation. Also, once a patient is on non-selective beta blockers, there is no need for repeat endoscopic gastroduodenal examination. On the other hand, the disadvantages of non-selective beta blockers: approximately 15% of patients may have absolute or relative contraindications to therapy, and another 15% require dose reduction or discontinuation due to its common side effects as fatigue, weakness, shortness of breath. Patients with refractory ascites who are on non-selective beta blockers for primary prophylaxis should be closely monitored and dose reduction or discontinuation can be considered in those who develop low blood pressure and impairment in renal functions. The clinically significant bleeding from gastric varices, according to the third Baveno International Consensus Workshop, includes the transfusion requirement of more than 2 units of blood within 24 hours of time zero, which is the time of the presentation of the patients to the emergency room. Systolic blood pressure less than 100 millimeter mercury, or a postural change of more than 20 millimeter mercury, and or a pulse rate of more than 100 per minute at time zero. The therapeutic aim in acute variceal bleeding is to correct hypovolemia, to stop bleeding as soon as possible, to prevent early re-bleeding or recurrence of bleeding, to prevent complications associated with bleeding, and to prevent deterioration in liver function. The initial management of a patient presenting with bleeding from gastric varices includes assess and address the airway, breathing, and circulation. Those patients at high risk of aspiration must be intubated. 2 bilateral 16-gauge upper extremity peripheral intravenous lines are adequate for volume resuscitation efforts. Replace each milliliter of blood loss with 3 milliliters of crystalloid fluid. Foley catheter placement is mandatory for evaluation of the urinary output as a guide to renal perfusion. This labor-intensive management should be performed only in an ICU setting. Insert an esogastric tube and perform an aspirate and lavage procedure. Antibiotic prophylaxis is significantly reduces the percentage of patients who develop infection and rebleeding and increases survival, and should continue for 7 days. And third generation cephalosporins are preferred in this situation. Urine output should be maintained at a minimum of 40 mL per hour. An output below 20 mL per hour indicates poor renal function and impending renal failure. Feeding of the patient should be resumed as soon as 24 hours interval free of rebleeding has been achieved. Prophylactic treatment of lactulose can be given to patients who are liable to encephalopathy. Treatment of coagulopathies should be considered. The British Society of Gastroenterology guidelines suggest a platelet transfusion if the count is below 50,000 per liter, and fresh frozen plasma to be used for patients with a fibrinogen level of less than 1 gram per liter, or clotting derangement more than 1.5 times greater than normal. The use of vasoactive medications in the management of bleeding gastric varices is important. Vasoactive drug decreases the portal venous blood flow. They include vasopressin and its analog terlipressin, and somatostatin and its analog octreotide. Their use is recommended in all major guidelines, although it must be noted that there is no studies that have looked at the use of vasoactive medications in the gastric variceal bleeding specifically. In 2012, a meta-analysis of 30 trials, including more than 3,000 patients, showed that the use of vasoactive agents was associated with a significantly lower risk of 7-day mortality, an improvement in hemostasis, less transfusion requirement, and a shorter duration of hospitalization. They reported that studies comparing different vasoactive agents did not show a difference in efficacy, but the quality of evidence was very low. The use of vasoactive medications is recommended to be started yearly on arrival of the patient to the hospital and to be continued for 5 days even after the endoscopic interventions was done to the patients. One of the most important vasoactive drugs used for management of bleeding gastric varices is terlipressin, which is a systematic analog of vasopressin that's administered as intermittent injection. In a meta-analysis, it showed lower risk of complications compared to vasopressin. A Cochrane review in 2003 showed that terlipressin was the only medication to reduce mortality from gastric varices. About endoscopy for management of bleeding gastric varices, as a general rule, endoscopy should be performed as soon as the patient can tolerate it. That's to say, when hemodynamic stability has been achieved. The presence of skilled personnel to assist during emergency endoscopy is essential. It's doubtful whether vigorous gastric lavage before endoscopy may improve diagnostic accuracy or not. Variceal hemorrhage is diagnosed on the basis of one of the following findings on endoscopy. Either there is an active bleeding from the varix, there is a spurter, like the uppermost endoscopic picture, or white nipple overlying varix, platelet clot on the varix, or blood clots overlying a varix, or the varices are present with no other potential source of bleeding. Diagnosis is certain when blood is present in the stomach, and endoscopy is done within 24 hours of the bleeding attack. Endoscopic modalities for treatment of gastric varices include either injection modalities like sclerotherapy with different sclerosants, or using tissue adhesives, or using thrombin and fibrin glue, or ligation methods that include the rubber band ligations or the endoloop or snares, which are either nylon snares or metallic endoloops or snares. One of the most important drugs that are used in the treatment of bleeding gastric varices is the cyanoacrylate glue. The cyanoacrylate glue provides an ideal endoscopic treatment for gastric varices. The native cyanoacrylate is a liquid with a consistency similar to water and therefore lends itself to intravaricial injection. When added to a physiologic medium such as blood, the cyanoacrylate rapidly polymerizes, forming a hard substance. Thus, after injection into a varix, the cyanoacrylate plugs the lumen. What are the equipments needed for cyanoacrylate injection? A large channel endoscope is needed, additional suction unit for oropharyngeal suction to prevent aspiration, a water irrigation pump, injection catheters, wide bore needles, 21 gauge needles, Teflon needles are needed for injection, a Lipido ultra fluid needed for dilution of the histoacryl, N-butyl cyanoacrylate, which is histoacryl used for the injection, distilled water to wash the needle after injection of each histoacryl ampoule, 2 ml syringes with lock fitting. All this stuff is needed for histoacryl injection. To optimize the injection of histoacryl, dilutions of 0.5 ml of histoacryl with 0.7 or 8 ml of Lipido, limiting the volume of the mixture to 1 ml per injection to minimize the risk of embolization or clotting of the tip of the needle, repeating intravaricial injections of 1 ml each until hemostasis is achieved, obliteration of all the tributaries of the fundal varix, repeat endoscopy 4 days to 1 week after the initial treatment to confirm complete obliteration of all visible varices and repeat histoacryl injection if necessary to accomplish complete obliteration. This slide shows the results of histoacryl injection as reported by several authors. The best results was Sewald et al. In 2008, which is they reported 100% hemostasis and 100% of variceal obliteration of gastric varices, recurrence of bleeding, no yearly recurrence, and less than 7% of late recurrence of gastric bleeding from gastric varices. These are excellent results as reported by Sewald et al. At Ain Shams University hospitals, we explored the use of different materials for obturation of large gastric varices. Electively, all of the patients were not bleeding. We used histoacryl compared to isoamyl 2-cyanoacrylate, which is a macrylate, which is an Indian stuff, similar but less potent than histoacryl, and a mixture of hypertonic glucose 25% mixed by a ratio of 1:1 with a drug called Sclerimo, which is 72% chromated glycerin. We compared the three drugs for obliteration of gastric varices. We had 90 patients with gastric varices that presented to endoscopy unit of Ain Shams University Hospital that were included. They were randomly allocated into 3 groups. Each group included 30 patients treated with intravaricella sclerosant injection in bi-weekly sessions till complete obturation of gastric varices. Group 1, we used histoacryl injection. Group 2, we used amacryl or amacrylate. In the group 3, we used a mixture of concentrated glucose solution with Sclerimo. The results of the study showed that we needed just 2 sessions of histoacryl injections compared to 3 sessions with the other 2 groups, but all the 3 groups showed obturation of the gastric varices, so they were comparable with no significant clinically significant difference between the 3 groups. The study showed that all used sclerosant substances showed efficacy and success in management of gastric varices with no significant differences except in total amount, the cost, and the bleeding during the puncture of the gastric varices. This is a short video showing the process of injecting the gastric varices. This patient presented with history of upper GI and lower GI bleeding. Upper endoscopy revealed no esophageal varices and multiple antral erosions with brown spots, with indicating recent bleeding. On retroflexion of the endoscope to examine the fundus, we noticed the presence of a large fundal varix. This is a risky varix that should be injected with histoacryl. In such a case, the endoscope was straightened, and we put an injector, Teflon needle 21 gauge, and retroflexed the endoscope to face and maneuvered the endoscope to face the gastric varix and to reach to the most approachable position above the varix, and just to put the needle, we probed the varix to find it is soft before getting out the needle and injecting histoacryl. I ordered the assistants to prepare the histoacryl ampoules and to inject one ampule by one ampule. In between the ampules, I inject 1 ml of distilled water just to clear the tip, to push the histoacryl from the needle and to clear the tip, to prevent clogging of the tip of the needle, and to continue injecting till obturation of the whole gastric varix. At the end, I probe the tip of the, I probe the gastric varix to be sure that it has been solidified. And then on withdrawal of the endoscope, don't withdraw the injection needle inside the endoscope. Just keep the tip of the needle outside the endoscope and remove the endoscope outside of the patient. Then wipe the tip of the sclerosing needle before pulling it out from the endoscope to avoid the obstruction of the biopsy channel. By comparing gastric variceal ligation with gastric variceal obturation with histoacryl, there was no difference in survival, no severe complications between both groups, but there's a lower gastric variceal rebleeding rate in favor of gastric variceal obturation. About the detachable endo loop, simple, safe, and effective method for treatment of bleeding esophageal varices. The loop consists of heat-treated elliptically shaped nylon thread and a silicone rubber stopper that maintains the tightness of the loop. The transparent ligation chamber with no elastic bands or strings mounted on detachable mini loop gives a clear endoscopic view. And the problem of elastic band slippage off from the ligated varix does not exist. This is an endoscopic picture of esophageal varices ligated with the endoloop. Regarding rescue therapies for gastric variceal bleeding, we have a second endoscopy or shunting procedures, that includes transjugular intrahepatic portosystemic shunts or surgical shunts. The balloon tamponade is an old method for treatment of bleeding gastric varices. These tubes can be life-saving maneuver, but the recurrent bleeding with the release of the tamponade occurs in most patients. 20% of complications rate that includes airway obstruction, aspiration, and esophageal necrosis with rupture. The tubes act as a bridge to help stabilize the patients until a time when the patient is prepared for either a repeat endoscopy procedure or a portal pressure decompression through a radiological or surgical method. US guided angiotherapy for bleeding gastric varices. The rationale for use: US guided angiotherapy may play a role in the management of bleeding lesions that are refractory to standard endoscopic and or angiographic techniques. US can identify feeding vessels that are not visible with a standard endoscope and are inaccessible with conventional hemostatic techniques. US may enable precise fine needle injection, delivery of a selected therapy to targeted vessels, and assess treatment response with Doppler monitoring. Various agents such as sclerosins, thrombins, and cyanoacrylate can be administered to targeted vessels by using standard US-guided FNI techniques. The coils that are currently used for angiographic embolization can also be delivered to the targeted vessels through an FNA needle. For gastric varices, FNI of coils followed by cyanoacrylate may minimize the risk of glue embolization and decrease the amount of glue needed to achieve variceal obturation. Coils of 8 to 20 millimeters in diameter have been delivered to gastric varices. Transjugular intrahepatic portosystemic shunts or TIPS controls variceal bleeding in more than 90% of patients. The 30-day rebleeding rate is 25 to 30% due to stenosis or obstruction of the stent. Shunt dysfunction occurs in approximately 50 to 60% of patients at 6 months. TIPS is considered the standard of therapy for bleeding esophagogastric varices that are unresponsive to endoscopic and pharmacologic first-line treatment. The use of polytetrafluoroethylene covered stents significantly improved the stent long-term patency and reduced the incidence of encephalopathy when compared with bare stents. This may contribute to improve overall outcomes of patients receiving TEPS. An early TEPS within 72 hours, ideally 24 hours, should be considered in patients at high risk of treatment failure. That's in child BO class C less than 14 points or child class B with active bleeding after initial pharmacological and endoscopic therapy failure. Another method used for treatment of bleeding gastric varices, which is balloon retrograde transvenous obturation or PERTO. Erai et al. Reported that 90% of gastric varices were obliterated and 9% was diminished in size after emergency PERTO. No rebleeding or recurrence were found during the mean follow-up period of more than 1,000 days. Survival rates were 90% and 70% respectively at 1 year and 3 years. They concluded that emergency PERTO is an effective treatment for prevention of rebleeding from ruptured gastric varices. Regarding the surgical treatment of bleeding gastric varices, includes ligation, devascularization, splenectomy. They provide excellent results in patients with normal livers and extrahepatic portal venous obstruction. The rebleeding is a major complication that reaches from 40 to 50%. The total surgical chance, the incidence of encephalopathy was high as 30%, but the mini chance or selective chance protection from the rebleeding with less post-shunt encephalopathy. Currently, selective shunts are reserved for patients with good liver function. This algorithm shows the management of gastric varices. For primary prophylaxis, use beta blockers. Glue injection could be employed in expert centers or in a research setting. In case of acute bleeding, standard care target hemoglobin level more of 7 to 8 grams per deciliters. Vasoactive drugs used and from the beginning and for at least 5 days. You should use antibiotic prophylaxis and start with glue injection if controlled, complete with secondary prophylaxis to eradicate with further glue injection. If there is rebleeding, refer to TEPS, PERTO, or surgical shunts. If there is no control from the start, put a balloon tamponade as a bridge till preparing for TIPS, PERTO, or surgery. In conclusion, approximately 20% of unselected patients with portal hypertension have associated gastric varices. Gastric variceal bleeding is more severe and more difficult to treat, carrying a higher morbidity and mortality rates. Cyanoacrylate glue provides an ideal endoscopic treatment for gastric varices. Other tissue adhesives and sclerosants showed success comparable to histoacryl in obturation of gastric varices. US guided therapy may play a role in the management of bleeding gastric varices that are refractory to standard endoscopic treatment. Shunt therapies, especially TIPS, are very effective at controlling gastric varices treatment failure. I'd like to close my presentation with this picture for the main entrance of the Grand Egyptian Museum that was opened lately in Egypt. This is the largest museum in the world that's dedicated for a particular civilization. which is old Egyptian civilization. It contains more than 100,000 artifacts in the same museum. This is a fantastic museum and contains all the treasures of Tutankhamun Pharaoh. And this ends my presentation, and I'd like to thank you, and I'm ready to receive any questions from your side.